Uh-oh.
Garcia was not doping. He's not fast. He's not strong. He's not conditioned. He's not even good. All right, guys. He's not even good. I have been suspicious of Garcia doping since probably the Induno fight. Okay, the Induno fight. I saw that knockout, and it just again, I didn't say, oh, this guy's definitely doping, because you can never really just say that. But there was a certain kind of power surge all of a sudden in Ryan Garcia's career, and it was drastic. It wasn't like he was kind of strong. He was getting stoppages. But the Induno fight where you hit a durable guy and you barely hit him on the top of the head, and he's one leg went one way, one leg went the other way, and he's knocked out in the first round. I was like, man, this guy was never hitting like that. You know what I mean?
It's quite an explosive thing to say, that Ryan Garcia, without his secret sauce, really isn't any good. That he isn't fast, and he isn't strong, because that's basically saying that the only reason he's out here is because he's on the juice.
Ryan isn't a good boxer, you understand, in terms of nuts and bolts mechanics, fight mechanics. He doesn't have that. What he has are physical attributes: height, length, speed, and strength.
Those two things exist separately. Skill and physicality. Your skills as a fighter, and what are your physical attributes? Physical attributes are things like speed, strength, durability, cardio,
athleticism,
reflexes, things you don't necessarily teach, things you can sharpen, but you either have them or you don't. And what Paulie's saying is, all of Ryan's speed and all of Ryan's strength came from a bottle.
Wow.
Paulie has long been vocal about this subject, going all the way back to the days of Manny Pacquiao, who he suspected was on the juice, though Manny never actually tested positive for anything. Ryan, however, he did. So if people are talking about him like this in this context, can you really blame them?
There's been a lot of deflections.
Not just from Ryan Garcia, but his fans pointing in the direction of Devin Haney and his relationship with Victor Conte. We all know what Victor Conte's past is. We all know what he used to do. He's in the protein powder business now, the supplement business.
They don't trust him.
And maybe they shouldn't. But why should we trust Ryan?
What about him seems trustworthy?
I don't think Ryan is a good boxer in the boxing sense. What he has are physical gifts, physical attributes, his speed and his strength, his height and his length.
Looked like shit with Gervonta Davis, looked like shit with Emmanuel Tagoe, looked like shit with Oscar Duarte. He even looked like shit with Devin, except for the left hooks he kept landing.
What seemed to be working for Ryan is that Devin ain't got no pop, that kid ain't got no power, he can't crack an egg. So even when he's landing punches, they're not having any effect on Ryan, whereas Ryan's punches were having a noticeable effect on Devin Haney, that he was a lot stronger than Devin.
Hey, Bill Haney, happy Halloween. Love you so much. I got something to really scare you.
It's definitely a point of contention. Victor Conte's past and the Haney's current relationship with him.
What about it?
There's two ways you could look at Victor Conte's role in the sport of boxing. Victor's past gives him keen insight into who might be doping and who's hiding it. He would know. He knows all about that.
That's one way.
Or He's still helping fighters cheat. He's still helping fighters dope. It's just covering it up.
It's another way.
It's a legitimate inquiry, but when you bring it up as soon as we start talking about Ryan, it goes from being a legitimate inquiry to a deflection. You're just deflecting. You're trying to take the attention off of Ryan because you don't have a way to defend him.
And he doesn't have a way to defend himself.
But to point the blame in every other direction, it was the ashwagandha, it was the Haney's, it was Conti, it was Vada, they set me up, and it went from that to it being his supplements were tainted.
You're not dealing with adults.
That is adult minds. You're not dealing with adult minds if you're dealing with Ryan Garcia's supporters, Ryan Garcia's fans. The thing is, who says you have to deal with them? I think what I think, irrespective of those people, I think Ryan was cheating. He knew he was cheating. He probably still is cheating.
He's not currently enrolled in any anti-doping testing. Throughout the length of his suspension, nobody's checking on him. Nobody's collecting his urine.
He said on his own TikTok he was getting ready to fight Devin again, so that when Bill puts him on a spot and tells him to sign up to VADA, Ryan reneges. Ryan backs out. I don't care how much you don't like Bill Haney. That's no excuse for Ryan.
That's the crutch these people like to lean on. Well, I don't like Devin, and I don't like Bill. Give a shit what you like or what you don't like. What the hell does that have to do with Ryan not being tested? You stupid?
You would have to be. To believe that, what? The Haneys set up Ryan Garcia preemptively, somehow got a hold of his supplements, and tainted them. For a fight that Devin was favored to win by the odds makers, all the bookies, all the sports books, most of the boxing fans, going in they favored Devin to win. So why would Devin have to taint Ryan's supplements? For what?
Do you know how stupid you sound?
Your explanation doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to.
Do you know why it doesn't have to? Nothing you say to me has any bearing on what I think. I'm looking at the facts that are available, the facts as they are, not mouthy fanboys.
Not you weirdos with a crush on Ryan.
You keep coming at his channel trying to convince me of what you think when you don't have to come here. Watch somebody else. A number of content creators right now trying to siphon followers off of Ryan Garcia. Go watch one of them. But if you want to know what I think and you're here, you keep coming here. So I'll assume that you do.
He cheated.
And he is likely still cheating, which is why he doesn't want to get tested. If you like him anyway and want to keep supporting him, go ahead. But don't expect me to join you.
He's a shitty boxer and he can't do nothing without his pets.
Talks for a Haney rematch seem to have slowed for Ryan on the basis of Bill urging him to sign up for anti-doping testing, and a new potential fight has emerged. A fight between Ryan and Teofimo Lopez.
This is per Oscar de la Hoya, Ryan's promoter.
The both of these guys are a pain in the ass, so it's very difficult to imagine that you could negotiate a fight between them. Ryan is a pain in the ass, so is Teofimo.
They both are.
However, if you somehow were able to make this fight, it would generate a lot of money. I think it would. Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez. I don't think it would be at 140 pounds because I don't think Ryan can make 140. Teofimo
doesn't look like he was going to stay there anyway.
Doesn't look like he was going to unify titles with any of the other 3 champions at the weight. So if you made this fight, it would presumably be somewhere at welterweight.
No belt?
Well, when the hell has Ryan Garcia ever cared about belts? When has he ever been committed to collecting a belt or collecting all the belts? When was that the case?
Never.
Teofimo might fight him anyway just for the financial incentive, for what the fight might do commercially. And I reiterate, I think commercially, the fight would do well. You could sell it as a pay-per-view with no belts on the line.
The caveat.
Teofimo seems to be involved in a legal skirmish between himself and what is still his promoter, Top Rank. He's claiming that his contract is invalid, and they're saying, no, it isn't.
He's got that going on.
Didn't Ryan Garcia try something similar with Golden Boy? Didn't he try to get an illegal skirmish with Oscar and Golden Boy? He wanted to jump ship.
Peas in a pod, these two.
The solution. Top Rank has a decent working relationship with Golden Boy Promotions. They can work together to market this fight in the coming year. And between both platforms, the ESPN platform and the DAZN platform, you could really get a lot of eyes on this fight. You can really sell it.
But I thought Top Rank's contract with ESPN was supposed to be up next year.
It might be, and ESPN might renew, or Top Rank might sign on with 1 or 2 new broadcast partners. It all depends on when you would try to do this fight. And it's my understanding that at least for the first quarter of next year, they're still going to be on ESPN.
Ryan's suspension's supposed to be up in April.
That's more towards the end of the first quarter and the start of the second one. You could do it then. You could start negotiations for the fight now to iron out all the kinks, all the wrinkles, get all of that sorted by next year so Ryan can start camp next year. And in April, when his suspension is up, he's free to have the fight. I want to say that this fight doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. At 147, it wouldn't. Because neither Ryan Garcia or Teofimo Lopez have done anything at 147. Neither fighter has proven themselves elite, the best in show, or even decent, even good at 147. So they can fight, they can definitely fight, and you can definitely sell it. It would have a profile. But in terms of legacy and the annals of boxing history and just all that stuff that makes fans remember, this really ain't that kind of fight. It's more of a spectacle
Between 2 idiots.
and Americans do like to make idiots famous, so this would be ideal for today's American boxing scene. Now, as far as the fight itself, you can definitely argue that Teofimo is the more accomplished fighter of the two, the more proven fighter of the two. Maybe he's more skillful, maybe, but that really does depend on the circumstances because Teo's got his limitations.
Tio's good hanging back when he's working off the counter, but coming forward,
Not as good. And against Ryan Garcia, he might have to, because if Ryan Garcia decides to hang back, if Ryan Garcia decides to work off the counter, he's taller and longer than Teofimo. Teofimo might have to come to him. He's the shorter, stumpier fighter of the two. He has to get within range of Ryan before he can land anything. And because his arms are shorter, he's got to get closer.
that's a problem.
Teo likes to use a Philly shell. He really should use a high guard more when he's coming forward to catch and counter off the high guard, but he likes to use the shell.
I think that makes him more vulnerable to counter left hooks, which happen to be Ryan's speciality. That what happened to Devin could happen to Teofimo, not necessarily because Ryan is so skillful and so good, but because of the height differential.
Teofimo's been knocked down by lighter punchers than Ryan Garcia. He's been knocked down before by George Kambosos, by Sandor Martin. Which one of those two guys do you think hits harder than Ryan, especially on his pads?
Because he does use peds.
Would there even be anti-doping testing for this fight? You gotta wonder. Teofimo can demand it, he can ask for it, but he's not the A-side here. Ryan is the A-side.
Ryan calls the shots.
And Ryan is a cheater, a brazen cheater. He's not ashamed. They could contract this fight at a catch weight of 143, and Ryan would come in at 147. They could contract it at 147, and he'll come in at 149, 154.
And what's Teofimo gonna do about it? Call the fight off?
Ryan would be the A-side, and Teofimo would be the B-side. No belt on the line. Nothing to determine what the splits are except the two teams themselves, and Ryan has a proven track record that he generates more money than Teofimo. Teofimo's going to be subject to whatever Ryan wants, if he wants that fight.
Sure, his loudmouth dad ain't gonna be too happy about that. They both got loudmouth dads. Like I said, peas in a pod.
The two tweaker kids, one from the East Coast and one from the West.
Will this happen?
I don't know, like I said, both these guys are a pain in the ass. They're hard to make fights for, so if you try to make a fight between them, that's one giant pain in the ass. I saw Fight Hub asking about a fight. I saw Fight Hub asking about a fight involving Teofimo and Jack Catterall. Is this the next fight we would like to see between these two fighters? Lopez versus Catterall.
Stylistically, it's a fascinating fight, but there's so much wrong with this picture, so much that would have to come together, it's not even worth talking about.
Reviewing the talking points, you have to remember, Teofimo is a talented boxer, puncher, and counter-puncher when he's the one hanging back. But if Jack lays off, and Jack forces Teofimo to come to him, it's the same thing all over again. The Regis Prograis fight. All over again. The same things that troubled Regis would trouble Teofimo because they share the same base style with the same limitations. Coming forward, they don't diversify their offense enough, don't double or triple up on the jab enough. Their offense coming forward, their variety of punches is limited. They often try for punches before they're in position to land them. That's why you saw
Regis knock himself over, swinging so hard, swinging for the fences. The same thing happened to Teofimo.
Literally the same thing when he fought Sandor Martin, when he ended up getting bull and matadored by the Spaniard. He tried for a shot, ended up tangled on the ropes. The exact same thing happened.
For the exact same reason.
No one should struggle with the idea that Jack might give Teofimo problems, because how many other fighters haven't already given him problems? George Kambosos, Sandor Martin, Jermaine Ortiz, even Steve Claggett. And Steve's style plays right into Teofimo's, and he still struggled with that guy. So when I think about a Lopez versus Catterall fight, I think Jack can make him look bad. Oh yeah. Teofimo's power at 140 pounds is not as devastating as, say, Regis Prograis. You know, Regis, he's one of the bigger punchers at 140, and I think we saw a glimpse of that this weekend when he hurt Jack Catterall and had him on the run. I think Regis punches harder than Teofimo. What might seem like a hot take to you, but it shouldn't, because who has Teofimo knocked out at 140?
When is the last time Teofimo knocked somebody out?
You're telling me that you've been watching this fighter, fight by fight, you saw him go to 140, you've seen what he looks like, and you think he's still a devastating puncher?
He's not.
So some of what you've seen from Teofimo, where he's looked less than spectacular, boils down to styles. But the dead giveaway is his last fight, that his power at 140 ain't what it was at 135. The giveaway is his last fight with Steve Claggett. Those other guys that made you look bad, you had to chase them, but you didn't have to chase Steve.
He stood right in front of you, throwing punches and bunches, and you still couldn't knock him out.
Jack ain't gonna do that. Jack ain't just gonna stand in front of you, shoulders square, swinging for the fences. He's gonna jab and move and punch. All the things that characteristically make Teofimo struggle.
And you're still struggling with this idea. You know what I think the Americans are struggling with? The idea that a Brit can out-hustle an American. Did you not see the Fury versus Wilder fights?
Did you forget already? Did you forget about what Hamza Shiraz just did to Ammo Williams?
American boxers are not special just because they're American boxers. Get that shit out of your head.
Didn't Teofimo lose to an Aussie, so you don't think he could lose to a Brit? Where the fight happens is pretty important. Does it happen in the UK? Because if it does, that definitely gives Jack the edge. If it happens in America, then Teofimo can job him.
Where it happens.
If it happens, though I don't think it does. I think that a Jack Catterall fight is less likely to happen than the Ryan Garcia fight we just discussed, because it doesn't pay as good, it doesn't pay as much as fighting Ryan, because it would require Teofimo and his team to work with Matchroom, and in case you haven't noticed, he doesn't like Matchroom. He blames them for his loss to George Cambodia.
Thinks there was a conspiracy against him, even though George isn't a Matchroom fighter, and he never was.
Whatever. And I don't get the sense that Teofimo is staying at 140 pounds anyway to defend his title or unified titles or fight guys like Jack. I don't get the sense Teofimo's staying there anyway. So this fight, to me, it doesn't seem likely to happen.
It's much ado about nothing.
So when can we expect to see Teofimo? In the ring again? I don't know. However long it takes him to come to his senses and stop wasting his prime years. Stop wasting his youth, because that's what he's doing.
There was plenty of time left this calendar year for him to have another fight. He chose to sit out and do the rounds on podcasts instead.
I guess to him that's a better use of his time than actually fighting and earning money. It just is what it is. When he'll be back, I don't know, but I'm not that pressed about it either.